All right, guys. So Tomato Lorenzo went on Fox Business Network talking to Stuart Varney here. Clash of the pompous people. That's what this is. He's going to ask a question about student loan debt elimination. A little softball down the center of the plate for Tomi Lahren, and let's see how she reacts.
I want to know how a youngster like yourself feels about forgiving student loans, because President Biden says he is considering student loan debt forgiveness.
By the way, he's not. What he's considering is $10,000 of student loan reduction, and it's means tested. Of course, Biden would take an idea that is wonderful, eliminating all student loan debt, and water it down massively to the point where it's only $10,000 and it's only for middle income and lower income people, and make it a half measure, make it more of a welfare program than a universal thing. Of course.
Are you in favor of student loan debt forgiveness?
What a cheap trick to try to garner favor with blissfully ignorant young people is exactly what this is.
A cheap trick to eliminate student loan debt. A cheap trick. I don't know how to explain to these people that obviously good things are obviously good. We have free high school. We have free middle school. We have free elementary school. Just understand that in today's day and age, a college degree is the same as a high school degree used to be. And then it should logically follow that, oh, well then that should be free. Now, if you're like, hey, not college isn't for everybody, that might not make sense, then I respond to you with, you could also choose if you'd like to go to trade school for free. So we should have a college option or trade school option for free. $7 trillion in the Middle East spent. $7 trillion on a bunch of illegal wars and nation building. It would cost they say 1.6 on the graphic that's going to show, but I think it's 1.7 trillion. It should definitely be done. Oh my God, it would be a wonderful thing. And she calls it a cheap trick. No, a cheap trick is when we bail out Wall Street with no strings attached when they bankrupted their own companies. That's a cheap trick. And then they paid bonuses to the same people who made the poor decisions, which led to the economic crash and led to the companies going bankrupt. That's a cheap trick. That's all because of corruption. This is not a cheap trick. This is bailing out people who need to be bailed out because the system is rigged against them. Crystal Ball did a great thing recently. She did a great monologue explaining how the way the current system works with the loans for college, it's just a giant neoliberal scam. You were told, look, you got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You got to improve your own life. You got to go to college. We'll give you the loans to go to college. And then when people do that, they do exactly that, then everybody turns around later on and says, well, you were irresponsible for taking out the loan to go to college. What? You said that's the American dream. Take out the loan, go to college, improve yourself, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. I did that, and then now I'm more in debt, and I'm in a worse position. It was just a scam. The whole thing was a fucking scam. And Tomi Lahren supports that scam very clearly.
I am completely against this because this is only going to cause more problems for the entitlement generation. Listen,
Entitlement generation. Entitlement generation. Okay, how inexpensive was college for the boomers? It was super inexpensive. The price has skyrocketed for millennials. A lot of millennials and Gen Zers, of course, but live with their parents because they can't really afford to move out and the jobs aren't paying that well. And she calls the generation of which she is a part the entitlement generation. Oh. As if it wasn't the previous generations that fucked everything up and then handed it to us on a silver platter. It was like, now you guys deal with the fallout of it.
Went to college, you paid for an overpriced education, or you signed up to pay for an overpriced education, and now you want the taxpayer to pay for it for you. So not only is that bad for the entitlement generation, who thinks everything is free, by the way, it's not.
Like, nothing is free these days. Nothing. Now, there are about 6 European countries where college is free. The overwhelming majority of Americans want college to be free. There are places where the basics are met, but it's not here. It's not here at all. It should be here. It's not here. It's not here. They think everything's free. People my age and younger haven't experienced anything that's free. Like, literally nothing. Now, maybe if certain things were taken off the table in what's supposed to be a civilized, developed society, people would have a better crack at life, man. It's just really, like, free college and eliminating student loan debt is all about actually giving people equal opportunity. That's what it's about. It's about actually giving people a shot to make it. If you don't have a roof over your head, you don't have food in your stomach, you don't have an education, are you really free? Like, you're free to struggle. You're free to starve. You're free to tread water in the same place. You're not actually free. You can't tell me that, you know, a kid born to a single mom in Harlem has the same chance as Mitt Romney's son. Of course they don't. They have totally different chances. We're trying to give equal opportunity. And they smear that. And they portray that as if we are in favor of equality of outcome. No, we just don't want to have a 100-yard dash where one person starts at the 85-yard line and another person starts at the negative 20-yard line. Because that's not fair. So there are basic things you could do to try to ameliorate that. Give people free healthcare. Give people a free education. Give people a universal basic income. Now look, after you provide the basics, I'm totally fine saying, look, it's on you now. And let's have sort of a meritocracy type situation where there's competition. I'm totally fine with that. But you have to meet the basics. If you don't meet the basics, then what are we talking about here? You're just finger wagging at people to pull themselves up by their bootstraps when they don't even have boots. And that's what Tomi Lahren's whole shtick is.
But it's also bad for inflation. And let's talk about the price of college. Yes, college does cost too much. I agree with you. But the
By the way, it has nothing to do with inflation. The reason why inflation has been bad and is bad is mainly because of the supply chain and monopolies. Industries where there are monopolies, they can artificially keep the prices high. And the supply chain makes it so that supply is down and demand is up. So the answer to that would be, let's break up the monopolies and let's stop outsourcing our jobs and rebuild American manufacturing here. She makes it seem like, oh, if we eliminate student loan debt or do free college, inflation, that would lead to inflation. She doesn't know what she's talking about. She has no idea what she's talking about in terms of economics.
Government getting involved in forgiving things, that helps in no way, shape, or form. It gives these universities these...
Eliminating student loan debt, quote, helps in no way, shape, or form. It certainly helps the people who have the student loan debt. They'd wake up tomorrow and be like, oh my God, my student loan debt is no longer here. That is wonderful. I've now freed up some capital. I can maybe go lease a car. I can maybe go move to a new apartment. I can go out to eat, whatever. It helps in no way, shape, or form.
Colleges no incentive to have competitive pricing in their tuition. It allows them to jack up as high as they want. The indoctrination camps are raking in the money, courtesy of the American taxpayer, and at the detriment of young people who think there is a such thing as a free lunch.
Indoctrination camps, she calls schools. Oh, man. How do I even respond to this stuff? Look, I want to say more, but what's the point? It's like her whole shtick is, I am the right-wing young woman. Like, that's her whole shtick. She's not, I don't think she actually wants to engage based on the merit of various policies. I think she's just playing a role. And I could always sense that when there's almost no deviation from the narrative. And she's one of those people. Maybe like 3% of the time, 4% of the time she'll deviate from the narrative, but it is very rare. Super rare. And this is just another example of it here. Never forget, there's been a number of people on the right. I don't think Tomi was one of these, to be fair to her, but who postured as even though I'm on the right, I'm a populist. But now, with the student loan debate happening, everything I've seen from anybody on the right is against student loan debt elimination. So, ain't no populist, dog, at all. Like, these people are nowhere near populism. They're the furthest thing from populists, and they're advocating for a rigidly elitist idea. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.